Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be discussing the third episode of 30 Coins from HBO. I thought, the first episode we had sort of the creepy monster baby spider thing. The second episode we had a cool take on the Ouija board. This one, mirror. It's just simply a mirror. And there's one little element that was genuinely creepy. The idea that I could look into a mirror and see something in the mirror that's not in the real world. And I watched it. It was really late. This episode was supposed to be, our review was supposed to be up a day ago. I apologize for that too. But I got home really late, so I didn't watch the episode. It was cold. It was like 10:30 at night. It was dark. And I'm watching it, and I'm not bullshitting. I got a little like uncomfortable when they saw the book, and they're like, it's not really there. And I don't know. It was messing with me, the idea of a mirror. We see mirrors every single day. And that's something this show's done really well, is its horror elements. They take something very simple, and of course the show gets crazy and goes insane at certain points, but I love what they do with horror. This is what I want out of a Hellraiser show. There's rumors that there may be a Hellraiser series coming. That's sort of what I want.
It won't be this good.
I don't think it will. And I'll be honest with you. Yeah, you're probably right. What did you guys think of the setup for the mirror?
I didn't know what it was going to be because I didn't watch the trailer. So when I saw the little thumbnail with the gentleman who the priest would
it's Miguel. I can't say his last name. It's like Vergara.
Yeah, but the gentleman he killed trying to do the exorcism.
Not Miguel. I apologize. Manuel.
Yes, that's right. But the person he killed, when they showed him on the other side of the mirror, that's the thumbnail for the show. I was just like, who the hell is that? And then throughout the episode, the different stuff with the mirrors, it just reminded me of being a teenager and like all the Bloody Mary stuff and all the weird things you did as a kid that kind of creeped you out. This was a exponentially creepier version of that kind of shit, and I really liked how they did it, how they executed it, the stuff they revealed about the different aspects of the show. They still didn't explain everything, so that's, to me, going to play in later. I really like this episode.
Yeah, it was a good one, and we get to see a lot of what we saw in Lovecraft Country, the way that they're... Well, then again, we didn't. I was going to say we got to see their distrust for each other sort of playing against them, but then again, in this one, it kind of worked out in the end, even though, that may bite them later. They may need to learn to trust each other, seeing how they're the only three people in this town that seem to have a decent grasp of what's going on. That said, it was a good episode. I do like the mirror concept. It did make for a great, for some great horror moments, reflecting his fears and everything, and the way it just they just toyed with that, and a lot of the effects and whatnot. One thing I thought was weird, because I definitely thought this scene was going to go in a very different direction, and as you guys know, I never remember anybody's name. What's the name of our female lead, the veterinarian?
Elena,
right? When she realizes that she can feel and pick up the book, because, well, she's told that and everything. First thing she does is pick up the book and throw it at the mirror. I thought she was
going to open it and start
read the pages. Yeah. Yes, that's what I thought.
I thought she was going to show it to the mirror and then try to read it that way.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I thought. Or maybe, shove it through, but she just chucks it at the mirror to destroy it. And
yeah, but now she has the book. So
yeah, true. I didn't think that was going to work out for her, though. That was an odd assumption. I'm supposed to break the mirror with the book. I kind of thought, since you could read what was on the binding and everything, you're supposed to read the book and keep the mirror intact, and you read some incantation and that lets you go through the mirror.
That was the hard part to believe, not the part where coins are possessing people and make dogs eat themselves and making
Well,
being able to walk through a mirror and clone yourself and have your doppelganger run shit and cast a spell on people and get them to believe stuff.
well, I'm
I
glad you mentioned the doppelganger too, because that could have made a cool angle if they had let that run for like an additional episode and nobody knew
He
it was.
said the exact same thing. We were talking about that.
we're talking about it today.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought the way it happened, I figured he would start trying to infiltrate and try to convince them. Instead, he did the exact same thing that I was thinking, but he just did it very quickly. I was hoping that, because they already don't trust Manuel that much anyway. So if he slowly started, giving a little bit of information, building that trust, he probably could have convinced them. But how he did it, which is part of the show, I'm sure they wanted to introduce some characters, kind of introduce this aspect of what's going on without adding a whole nother subplot. So I'm not mad that they didn't do it, but when we first saw the doppelganger kind of come through, mirror Manuel come through, immediately I thought that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, same here. I thought that he'd be more subtle about it. Instead, he comes out and he seems to hypnotize the whole town in a way, and get them enthralled. Whereas I thought it was going to be like a subtler. He's manipulating things. He's messing with things. He's maybe just sort of mentions to Paco's wife that that he thinks that Paco's cheating with Elena, and he just kind of sows discontent in the town and messes with these two's lives, until like a sort of a final conflict builds between them and him, and in either the next episode or the upcoming episode, and they kill him and he like dissipates or something, and so they realize that's not the real pastor. I thought it was going somewhere along that line, but this episode threw me a little, I guess.
It did. And I sort of like that because the way it's written, we praised in our last video The Last Circus. Yet it's similar in style in that you think it's going one way and it's not. It's going to throw a lot of crazy stuff at you, and the way this show plays out is similar. Because you're right. You're in your mind. You're like, oh, clearly this is the next thing that'll happen, and then it's like, no, it's not. Not at all. We get more information on somewhat what's happening. I still have a lot of questions, and there's some vagueness here and there, but we basically sort of understand this order of, I'll call it the cult of Judas. They had a name for it, but that's what I'll call it. And basically the idea that, which I've heard before, and if you're into like Constantine or Dresden Files, they're similar things, but the idea that the whole point of life, supposedly the idea of free will, and the only way there's free will is if there's choice, and the only way there's choice is if there's two options, good and evil. Therefore, you need both, and the idea that therefore evil is necessary, and what Judas did had to be, and sort of this cult that almost essentially, I guess, worships him and what he did, and the idea that the church uses relics and items that were associated with Jesus. And this group, the cult of Judas, they use items that hurt him, and that gives them the power. And the idea of betrayal being the ultimate hurt, and therefore those 30 coins have all this power. So, what did you guys think about all that? And if I messed up anything, or if you want to elaborate, go for it. But that sort of plot line.
That's a really interesting concept, and it's been done before, but I guess not to this extent. That it is either the blessing of Christ, or his suffering that empowers these items. We've had the whole Spear of Destiny thing before in other media, like Hellboy, which is sort of the same concept, that this spear was imbued with powers because of that association, but never just had it elaborated that it's the impact that he had on these items, that he used this sponge to wipe away sweat from something or another, and so now this sponge is powerful, but I mean that means there's a ton of relics out there,
Well, what was the one? Was it vinegar?
Yeah, it was a sponge soaked with vinegar.
Yeah.
like that means if like there's a holy door out there just because, like, I mean, I think everybody's stubbed their toe in a door or gotten. I'm just saying there's all kinds of crazy relics out there, apparently, if we're going with this logic, because, we're talking about an entire lifetime here.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that wood will last 2,000 years, but whatever Jesus built with his hands,
Right?
carpenter after all. So there's got to be. He had to have hit his finger with the hammer at some time and got pissed off, so that hammer caused him pain. But I, there. You mentioned Dresden Files, Brian. They touched on this in a similar fashion, but not to the extent of the Cult of Judas type stuff. So there's these swords that were made from the 3 nails to hang up Jesus to crucify him, and they use those against a lot of the different more demonic bad guys throughout the series. But I thought it was cool that we got to see the flip side of that coin, because in the Dresden books, different demons are attached to those coins, and they possess their people. They make them do some messed up stuff. So throughout this episode, what I was seeing, there was zealots of every form. So for these people to fully believe in this stuff and to try to sacrifice Manuel and all this, that wasn't like far-fetched. Mm-hmm. However, watching them, looking at their faces, their hunger for power, looking at the dogs when they're around the coin, driving them to be, unstable, evil-ish. I want to know, because we haven't really seen it yet, what is the power that the coins possess? Because they said, if you get all 30 coins, it would be the ultimate power, but they haven't stated what it is. And that to me is a pretty big mystery at this point.
It's funny you mentioned those nails also, because, that's actually something I was thinking about during this episode when they had the explanation, because, that whole scene plays out during the intro where we see Judas acquire the coins. We also see the crucifixion, and I was thinking as well, I'm like, where are those nails? And like you mentioned, there would be 3 nails, and we have 3 protagonists here. So maybe that comes into play.
I could see something like that. The fact that they've been referenced directly, and you're right. I actually need to go back and pay more attention to the crucifixion and the opening credits, because maybe that gives us ideas of other items. What about I don't know if it would have survived the tree that Judas hung, or the rope, if any of it exists. Does that play into anything? I don't know. Yeah, that definitely, the idea of these artifacts, it opens it up a lot. I think Paco and Elena need to start listening to Antonio a little more carefully, and taking him. He's not lying ever. He's just like, yeah, this is what's going on. Like I would question him at this point. They still seem to be brushing him off a little bit. I mean, they're listening to him, but I think I would have pulled him into a room and been like, hey, let's talk, because I'm not sure what side he's on, if he's on any side. He seems to be trying to do good, because we now know, okay, he was going to drop the baby in the first episode, but we now know what the hell it was. So,
Well, yeah, more than anything, he seems traumatized by, just a realization of what's going on, and he seems in denial about the whole thing. Like you said, he does seem like a good character. He just seems sort of traumatized, and like he's just in full-blown denial. And I wonder if he's over that by this episode's end. If next episode we'll see him just a little more willing to acknowledge what's going on.
The Paco and Elena, his wife is right to suspect something is going on. I mean,
every touch, every
mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just, yes, it's 100%. They're into each other, and so far, still, yes, we had the scene where the doppelganger was manipulating them and bewitching them, or whatever he was doing, but and they went and messed up her clinic. But yet again, Paco is off on these adventures with Elena, and he's clearly into her. And we've not yet seen his wife be evil on her own.
Yeah, she seemed like she was under a spell at that point.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So yeah, she seems like oftentimes, especially in shows like this would be your antagonistic character. Would be your person you're rooting against. But I'm not rooting against this character because she has reasonable suspicions, being his wife.
Reasonable suspicions of infidelity. She legit seems to be trying to help his career in his political status, his businesses.
She actually seems to care about him.
Yeah, she's trying to, she's got a family, or she's married to him, and she has goals, and I don't see her as an antagonist yet, at least.
I did. Prior to this episode, everything she said and done felt like she was manipulating Paco. But in this episode, it made me feel as though, although she was manipulating him in the first two, maybe he's that guy that doesn't have any drive, and she's putting the foot up his ass to do something because he's just like, oh, well, I'll get to it later. And she's like, no, dickhead, now. So I think that she's just the force behind him getting him moving. But I didn't feel that way prior to this episode. I thought she was manipulating him for a reason. But I think after watching this episode, like you said, when she's like laying next to him and he's like, oh, my belly hurts, as he was watching the camera. And then, he comes to bed and she's like, you don't have to look at those adult.
That's a great scene as an example. She's like, hey, I'm here. What's up?
Yeah, and it just felt that sequence. And then at the end, when the mirror Manuel was basically pointing the finger at Paco, she stood up for a minute because it's really her doing all of this. But then, she got bewitched or mesmerized or whatever and just jumped right on board with everybody else. But as soon as it was done, she was seeking him out. She was like, hey, we need to talk. We need to see each other.
Right.
And it felt like she was super concerned. So prior to this episode, I was all about her having a coin or being used. And after this episode, I felt like maybe she's just the boot that he needed put to his ass to get moving.
Well, yeah, it seems like that. And like you said, prior to this, I was on the fence about it. But yeah, it definitely seems like, because what was it they were talking about? He was talking about something he wanted to do. And she's like, well, here's how you do that. And here's why what we're doing helps, and even their discussion about the hotel. He's like, oh, I look like a snake because, I'm the mayor and we have a wedding at my hotel. And she's like, we're the only ones with a hotel in this town. Anybody else could have bought this. We bought this, et cetera. She's like, you're not being a snake. This is the best place we could have had this wedding, et cetera. She's trying to help with his career. She is like self-promoting to a degree, but she doesn't seem to do it out of spite or out of any sort of maliciousness. She just seems to be trying to further his career, further his ambitions, and help him along.
She's ambitious, but he's not.
Yeah. Or it's even like like a lot of the things he thinks of don't seem fully fleshed out because he seems like he's more straightforward. He's more like, I'm going to go do this, but she's more of a planner than anything.
Yeah, I get that as well. The only thing he seems to really invest time in is when it involves Elena.
Yeah.
That's where his attention seems to be lately. I mean, I can't completely blame him. Side note there, but so, we have this whole coin situation. Now, I have a lot of like you said, Spencer, I have a lot of questions about these coins, how they operate. Can you just take it from somebody, or does it have to be given? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things, like, how exactly does that work?
You say that. Remember the beginning of the episode?
He still offered. Remember, he put the thing down. Yeah. The beginning. Well, let's talk about that. That was so damn bloody. I was like, holy shit. But even he was there to get that item. He opened it. And he was given it still. Now he broke it out of the necklace, pissing the guy off, but he was still given the object. I don't know. I'm curious to what the rules are. How that works. But yeah, that scene when he rips his throat out and the blood exploded all over the room. Those are those moments where, as a horror fan, a gore fan, I'm just like, damn, good job.
Well, yeah, this is interesting, and that's a good question because there must be some reason, because that was just a jewelry store, and the owner of the jewelry store had no idea what the value was, but yet they still felt the need to send a thrall that would kill the guy and everything, and just kill anybody that knew anything of the item. Like, so my question is, could they have gotten that themselves? Because I feel like they could have paid for it because he didn't know what it was.
Exactly. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the rules are or how it works. We saw there's the scene towards the end when they're in Mirror World, and then they see Manuel. He's about to be, I guess, sacrificed. But each of these priests within this order, the Judas cult, they each have a coin. They take it off. They put it on the table. They I don't know. They just put it there. That also brought a thought to my mind. Was he in the process of joining this crew? Or, he clearly knows what's going on, but did he, are we going to get more backstory on him? I mean, no, remember in the first episode, all those weapons. Why did he bring all those damn weapons and has his little bat cave situation going on? I mean, the guy, he boxes every day. I mean, there was a great boxing scene in this episode where he's beating the shit out of that bag. He clearly feels there's a threat coming and he has to be prepared for it, I think, even though he's on the surface trying to ignore it.
Yes. Right. Here's the thing that I was thinking about. When you look at, we talk about the boxing sequences. I've watched, Mike Tyson beat the shit out of people. I've watched some pretty big guys hit on some people. And for him to hit,
Paco?
First? No, the lady's name in the first one. When he, uppercutted her.
Oh, God. I have it in my old notes.
Yeah, but he uppercutted her 40 feet. So does he have some kind of relic or something that gives him power already? And that was my question, because after watching him...
Was it Carmen?
Yes, there you go. Yeah. After he hopped on the table, ran out, I was expecting to kick that head guy in the face as he ran past him, but I'm really curious because yes, he's strong. Yes, he's, trained in boxing. But I don't care how strong you are. You ain't punching somebody up in the air off the ground. So I'm curious if this is just almost like a horror movie trope where it's over the top.
Maybe he has a relic. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I don't know if he already has one or what.
Yeah, it could be, and and that's my question too. Are all relics related to Jesus, or could it be other biblical items as well?
Maybe the tattoos. Maybe it's the ink and the tattoos he wears.
It could
something.
be.
Yeah. It could have been the dye from something, or
It's maybe he's got a lock of Samson's hair or something. Because like you said, that's a serious punch.
What's funny is that might be it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Very possible. What else? The end. The coin. Going back to the coin. So the very end scene, yet again, the show does things. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't think they were going to do that. Elena goes to this dam, and she's looking over. She has the coin in her hand, and she's like, you think she's going to chuck it over into the water, and I'm thinking she's not going to, or she's going to change her mind, or something's going to stop her. No, she did it. She just chunked it. I was like, oh shit! And then the credits. What yeah, what happens now?
That's a good question. Like you said, if the passing of the coins has to be done uh, by people or by the previous owner, then to just kill that coin's power. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of questions I have, and that's almost Harry Potter-ish. But there's a whole thing about like the Elder Wand and all kinds of stuff. But the real power comes from either defeating the person or having it given to you. So, is this something similar? And if so, she didn't give it to anybody. She just basically got rid of it. So I am curious with that, whether or not that is how it's passed, or like me and you were talking, Brian. What if I mean, it's deeper water, but what happens when it washes up on shore and some kid grabs it and like, ooh, what's this? It, I I don't know what the significance is yet of her just throwing it away.
Well, yeah, that's a good question because you have to ask, and I'm sure we'll find out next episode. Like, is she in a like sort of Stephen King scenario? Can she throw this away, or is she the owner of this coin until she gives it up? Like, will it find its way back to her?
It ends up like in her pocket.
It washes the shore. It's and someone else finds it, and then they lose it, and then it's like just somewhere nearby. Something like that, or it's just back at her clinic when she gets there.
Well, remember the coin's origin was during the exorcism, and it came out of the guy's arm, and they said it, came from hell or something. So could we have a scenario where she just vomits it up, or it just, you know what I mean? Like something weird happens, and like you said, it comes back to her in some strange way, and she can't get rid of it. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that would be a pretty good assumption, just because I don't remember it's like Gacoma or something, GIACOMA or something.
Yeah. The name I can't remember.
The way Manuel says it, I can't repeat. I can't emulate that accent. But the way he got the coin out of him would lead me to believe that it didn't just come from hell into that body. Now, if he was possessed and actually genuinely possessed, then that would go back to what I was saying with the Dresden File kind of theory about the coins. So that there's a demon basically attached to each coin. And once maybe all of those bishops, I don't know, I was going to say popes, but there's only one pope. There's not like 30 of them. But what if each one of those cardinals or bishops are possessed by, a demon or something? It would explain a lot, but it would also add just as many questions, I think.
Well, yeah, and that's a good point. She could think that she's rid of the coin, and because maybe what we saw with the exorcism is a hint to what happened. Maybe the person who Manuel was performing the exorcism on is threw his coin away, and it just reappeared, or since it's his, it appeared like under his skin, and maybe we'll get the same sort of thing from Elena, where she'll start acting a bit odd and everything, and the pastor will notice will notice her odd behavior and everything, and this may be a sort of we may be in for sort of a redemption episode for him with that exorcism. Like maybe he'll successfully perform an exorcism on her, having more knowledge and having more understanding of what's going on now, and knowing what these coins are.
Did you either of you watch Penny Dreadful, Spencer?
Yes.
Did you watch it, Larry? I don't recall.
I haven't. I've been meaning to check it out.
I'm not going to spoil it. One of the best episodes. There's a exorcism episode that's really damn good, and I wonder if we'll get an episode like that in this. Anything else you guys want to talk about regarding episode 3 of 30 Coins?
one of the things I wanted to mention, just because I thought it was funny to me when Mirror Manuel went to the clinic initially when they were going to get the coin, and he shows up at the clinic. It was so fucking creepy the way he was kind of like
A great scene.
on the window, like just with his eyes kind of peeking. But I couldn't stop laughing when he was just like, "Oh, okay, well, if you need me, I'll be at church." And he just walks away, and it literally fucking works.
Yeah.
You walk out with the coin. Now she figures out it's Mirror Manuel at that point, but
I like the way she figured it out
yeah,
with the reverse watch.
yeah, and it was crazy because those kind of little things were there, and the way that they were explained, and the way that they're kind of leaving them out there for you to pick up on those things too. But I just couldn't stop laughing because when he was smirking and walking away, I was like, that dumb lady. She's getting ready to walk out and hand him the fucking coin, and she almost did. I was like, oh no.
Her
And then
detective skills, man.
Well, yeah, I was about to say that, and that's the only reason you think, "Oh, you're being dumb right now." Because if it weren't for her detective skills, you'd be like, "Well, she is a normal person and just a vet. It's not like, she's Sherlock Holmes, but most of the time she's Sherlock Holmes." So, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, "Oh, I know you're not that dumb," and then she notices, like you said, the watch and everything. So it's like, okay, cool, cool. Those skills kicked in.
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah.
also when they trashed the veterinary clinic, I couldn't stop like giggling. I know it was supposed to not be funny, but when they're walking around and the one guy with the mohawk picked up an empty cage and just threw it on the ground. I was like, ooh,
Are
damage
the
to
guy
property.
with the dog food bag and he's just slamming it against the that
Just throwing dog food everywhere. I was like, it's not even at that point when they started the fire, that was didn't even look intentional, but like just throwing dog food everywhere. It's just like these guys are just being shitty. Like, they're not even destroying property. They're just knocking all her files off her desk.
Well, speaking of the vet clinic, Paco, like he had a dog bite his, like just chomping down on his throat, and what was the previous episode? He was stabbed, and
yeah.
I'm just saying, like every episode, it seems like he has a serious injury that he recovers from real fast. Like,
Well, he's a werewolf now.
yeah, like something's going on.
God, I hope so. That'd be so funny.
That would be. Have you guys? I have not, and I don't plan to. Have you been tempted to look ahead because several episodes are already out overseas? So you literally could. I have not. I don't plan on it.
I have.
I want to. I don't want to know just yet. I did look on IMDb so that I seen a couple of the characters, but like Jesus is on there, but Jesus is also in the trailer at the beginning. So it could be, that guy playing Jesus. So there's a lot of stuff on IMDb, but the Cardinal, which is, I'm guessing the main Cardinal that you see is listed towards the top, but I already knew that he was going to be an important character anyway. So other than looking on IMDb a couple times to relearn names, I have not looked at all.
Right, and like you said, those may or may not be spoilers because we see, like you said, Jesus in the intro of every episode, and the Cardinal. Well, we see the Cardinal, or like a shadowy presence that looks like him, and we hear his voice seemingly every episode. So, well, at least every episode so far. So yeah, it's like, and I too have also kind of kept spoiler free. In fact, we have a friend who found out some spoilers, who's been kind of asking if I wanted to hear anything, and I'm just like, no. He's like, no, it's just real surface level stuff. I'm like, I don't want to know anything about this show yet. I'm like, not this one.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the I like the fact it's something to look forward to each week. And
Yeah.
I'm enjoying that aspect of it. But yeah, anything else?
I don't think anything specific. I really did enjoy all the mirror stuff. I loved how they used it against him. I loved how they all tried to smash it like 14 times before it finally got broke. I did want to mention though the the mirror room. I thought that was really cool because once they went through the mirror and they walked down that one hallway that had all the other mirrors, that I don't know if they built that set or if they just used one of the 97,000 castles that are in Europe. It was really well done. I like the chandeliers hanging and showing how the mirrors kind of existed into other planes. So did they use those mirrors for travel? In
Do you
Dresden, they use something like that.
do you think the church is a set or a real structure? I've been that's been bothering me the last several episodes. I'm like, is that a real building or is that a set they built? It looks too big to be a set, but it could be. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, do you think it's like an old cathedral or something? Or
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I was like, it's impressive if that's where they're shooting. I guess it is. I don't know.
Well, and I would guess that in certain parts of Europe, I don't know if that was really in that town, but I'm sure that there's parts in Europe that someone would let them use that.
Yeah, I
How
think it
that would be-
depends.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, just random, the band Cradle of Filth. I know they had tried to play at some cathedral, and I think they were going to, but then they didn't. But I don't know if it was because they weren't allowed. I don't know, but I know occasionally structures like that get used for entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's probably what it was, or if it may have been one that was in a little bit of disrepair, and they're like, yeah, if you want to fix it up and film here, sure, why not?
Yeah, if you want to fix it, use it all you want.
But yeah, that mirror room. You're right. That was another one. I'm like, is this a building or a set?
Well, even if they used a set, then it was probably a room, normal sized, 8-foot ceilings and stuff, but the ceiling was maybe green screened. So, they look up and then they could implant what they saw above them. There's probably ways to make it pretty easily done, but regardless of how they did it, it felt like magical. It was really cool seeing how it was set up.
Yeah, and I
love that
think
you
that's
described it that way. Yes.
what
Well,
is a good it is a good way to describe it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It
It
felt like
was
they went into,
visually.
like the Kingdom of Narnia.
Oh yeah, it was visually different than anything that they had shown us in the show. So it represented something different.
Well, and it also answered a question for us. That it's not necessarily that they have agents everywhere. It's that they create a thrall or they enthrall somebody and then they send them through this mirror potentially to somewhere like New York or wherever it was that they grab that one coin in the necklace and then dude just comes back through another mirror and back to the cathedral, or at least that's my assumption of how it's working for them.
They use the mirrors like they use phones in the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, very much.
Absolutely. Actually, yeah. When do you think Mirror Master is going to get involved? Little comic book reference there. But yeah, that does seem to be the case. And this, we don't get the full backstory of this particular mirror that was the central one in the episode, but we know it was in an apartment that hadn't been open in 50 years, I think they said.
Yeah.
So and that book, remember that book is going to play a role later, I'm sure.
I want to know why that book was just on the table, or is that something you have to do as part of the ritual, for these things, or did one of the priests just mess up while he was walking through the mirror, just leave his book on the table?
It's like, oh shit.
I left my book.
I love that a guy was stressing so hard about seeing that book that he crashed a car and wedding cake. But it was, it's sort of that Twilight Zone type thing where it's like I'm in this room, I'm looking at a mirror, and um, there's something there. There was a moment last point. What is that John Cusack movie with Sam Jackson? Hold on, I'm looking. 1408. There was a moment where I thought we were going to get sort of a 1408 scenario, because when the priest was like, I'm going to lock myself in this room all night and it's just me in this mirror. And I thought that he was going to see things in the mirror and that he was going to be trapped in this room, and it was going to be this the whole episode was going to be in this room, him dealing with the different things he saw in the mirror. And it was going to be sort of like 1408, but that didn't happen at all.
That's what I thought too. It happened a little though.
A little.
I thought you were going to say like gross point blank.
Especially random ass Johnny Cusack movies.
The Raven.
Yeah, no.
I was trying to think of the name of the one. Oh, Identity was a good one.
It was a good one.
That was trippy. But what I was trying to think of is the one where he's like a pushing 10. That's what it was. Or
but all right. Anything else?
oh man, we should review Pushing 10. No, nothing else about the episode.
Yeah, I think that's all for me.
All right. Thanks for listening, and check out all the content on the channel. More coming this week, in fact. Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.